Hello, and welcome back to Session Notes Unfiltered. I am Miss B, and this is an ABA podcast from the perspective of an honest RBT. Here we talk about ABA the way it feels to actually work in it. Today's episode is one a lot of us live through, but don't talk about enough. And I want to talk about job inconsistency. In my 1 year of doing this kind of work, that has been the most difficult struggle that I have experienced. This can be canceled sessions that you don't get paid for, sudden schedule changes, losing clients with little notice, not having a backup plan or no clients in your area if you do in-home, which I do. This can lead to not knowing what your paycheck or your week is going to look like. And it could lead to a lot of stress and frustration for the ones doing the work. So this episode is for the technicians and the BCBAs who love the work but are exhausted by how unstable it can feel. I would like to preface with the fact that I have done in-home care. I do not have clinic experience or in-school experience yet. That is just not the way life has worked for me yet. I have looked into it and I'm currently looking into it more because I am interested in gaining that experience. But when I am talking about a lot of these examples I will be bringing up, it is either from asking people on my TikTok for this podcast or my personal experience working in home. When people outside ABA hear inconsistency, they think we mean a client canceled once. That's not what we're talking about. Common forms of inconsistency can mean sessions were canceled last minute, clients transitioning to a clinic or school with little warning, hours cut suddenly, families not prioritizing sessions, being reassigned without input, clients moving with little to no warning, not knowing your schedule week to week. The unfiltered truth is that that is not just inconvenient. It affects our mental health, finances, and sense of value. ABA training teaches us about extinction bursts, reinforcement schedules, and data collection, but it does not prepare us for the emotional whiplash of inconsistency. This can feel like anxiety every Sunday night, feeling disposable or replaceable, guilt for needing stable income, grief over losing clients suddenly, questioning your confidence when a client regresses after schedule changes. Losing a client isn't just a schedule change. It's a relationship ending without closure. And if you're anything like me, you get attached to these kids. Even the ones you only meet for a short time, and then the schedule changes suddenly, or they transition to school, or they move. It just makes it even harder when it's one you have been with consistently and for a while. It's painful when that kid is just gone and you know you're not going to see them again. And a hard thing to say out loud is inconsistency hurts the clients too. It commonly causes regression due to the lack of follow through. The parents can unintentionally undermine the programs. RBTs can be blamed for the lack of progress. BCBAs can be adjusting the plans constantly instead of implementing them consistently because they are getting confused and may not know how often these changes were occurring. These clients really have success and thrive with a schedule and that consistency. So even if there are important life changes that require these transitions to another RBT or to the clinic instead of home, home instead of the clinic, whatever the case may be, you will usually see regression when that is a thing. And you can't build momentum when the ground keeps shifting. I'd like to talk about how to cope as an RBT or BCBA, being realistic and not using toxic positivity. Because we're not going to just be grateful through this moment. Yes, we can be grateful. I'm grateful for every client I've gotten to meet. I'm grateful for every chance to help a kid out there. But you're allowed to feel upset that you lost a kid. You're allowed to be frustrated and even feel stressed out or burnt out that you know this kid and you've been working with them for a while, or maybe even just started with them and suddenly you're off the case already for not anything that you've done, just inconsistent work. It's normal to feel that way. And some practical ways to cope is mainly to detach your worth from your hours. Your value does not appear or disappear based on the families you are around. You're still doing a great job. You still did what you were supposed to. You still tried your hardest, did the best you could. And you can advocate professionally. You can ask for clarity. You can request backup cases. You can communicate your availability and your boundaries. Some of the things I've liked to do in these instances is talk to a trusted friend. I'm not sharing personal information about the children, but I'm talking about how I cared about that kid and how it does hurt that I'm not going to see them anymore. How it does hurt when I see them regressing and I know that they're going to have that again and have to get acquainted with a new technician now And I find it helpful to have someone close and trusted that I can do that with, because it is a very heavy load to carry by yourself. When you are very empathetic and compassionate and you love the job that you do the way that I do, it really hurts and it's hard. You can prepare emotionally for these transitions and allow yourself to grieve losing the clients. You should not minimize the attachment you had. You are allowed to feel these things. If you try to bury it, it will actually make it harder. It'll probably build up and cause burnout or an emotional breakdown of sorts. It's better to try and talk about it and try and feel the hurt than to pretend that it's not there. I found it quite helpful knowing I was going to work on this week and have this as the topic, that I asked other technicians on the TikTok for this podcast what job inconsistency has been like for them. So talking to other RBTs or BCBAs, someone in the field that gets it, can be very, very helpful. I had a few who work in clinics say that has been more consistent for them and that they love it and that they have guaranteed hours. And I think that's great. That makes me so happy for them. Truly, that is amazing. That has made me even more interested in gaining that experience than I already was and have been curious. I think this job in general is not for the weak, but I think in home does seem to be harder. Saying that, I would also bring up the RBTs who were responding to the post, who also do in-home. Mainly we're struggling with the same things I am, where suddenly they don't have a client, or the clients are canceling all the time and we don't get paid for that. They will put it on our schedule as something called non-billable hours. If they even put that little block there, we do not get paid when you cancel. Many other RBTs who work in home were saying there just aren't enough kids or there aren't enough hours. So similarly to what I have experienced, these RBTs are also seeing that when we lose a client, we often go weeks without a replacement being available. There's no cushion to soften the blow. Burnout isn't always from too much work. Sometimes it's from too much uncertainty. This week, I had to say goodbye to a client I have been with for a few months now. And getting really real here and being so honest with you, it hurts a lot. I was with that kid for many hours out of the day, Monday through Friday. I went through the holidays with them. I was with them on their birthday. I've been with them for a while. And when it's longer days like that, you get even more attached. You know that kid so well. You love that kid. This kid sometimes feels like they reset over the weekend every time I see them because parents are not being consistent. And even through that frustration and feeling like my work sometimes didn't matter and was not as valued as it should have been, I loved that kid and I was excited to go and work with that kid every day. It mattered to me, and I still saw progress even on the days some things took a backtrack. It was really cool to see this kid start to get better at sharing because of me. It was really cool to see him start reading books to himself that I know I was the only one reading because parents were telling me they weren't reading that book. They don't know where he's picking it up. It was me. So that felt really awesome. It was awesome any moment I saw progress, or any time that kid hugged me and told me they loved me. That made it worth it. I was making an impact. And this was a kid who was kind of just on an in-between part of their timeline where they were in the clinic, they went to in-home for a little while, and I got to very luckily and gratefully fill that gap for them. And now they are going back to clinic, and although I am very excited for them, and I think it will make a bigger impact than I was able to, because they will be away from parents and being rewarded and negatively reinforced. So I think it will be very helpful for preparing this kid for school again. It still hurts a lot, and I'm gonna miss them. And it did, personally, for me, make it even harder that I did not get much warning. I got told by parents last week, so I only had about a week or two to know this was happening. They acted like I already knew, but no one had told me. They said it nonchalantly, and my first instinct was to message my scheduler because I didn't want to be left with nothing. This kid was a large chunk of my hours. And now it feels as though they have dwindled to almost nothing. I am very grateful that I have another client because I would be more upset and more worried if I had no clients now. But it still hurts and it still causes that kind of fear and stress because I don't know what they're going to have or when. I've been offered one option so far, but no one has gotten back to me. So I've applied to other positions in case, like a safety net. A lot of things have availability during the hours I have my other client, so that doesn't really work for me. I feel like this is often the case in this field, which is why I'm talking about it and being so honest and made this podcast. It also stung a lot for the parents to excitedly talk to me about this from the moment they told me. So, for about 2 weeks, me having to be very professional and try to share their excitement because I am excited that things are starting to work for them and go in a better direction. I really, truly am. But it still has a sting to it because they seem to have no knowledge that I am losing hours, just be very oblivious to how this is hurting me, how I'm going to miss their kid, how this is a huge loss for me. And although I'm very happy for them, I do think it will be more helpful in this specific case. This client had high behaviors, usually related to parents, so I think being in clinic would be very beneficial to the kid working on the behaviors. But I can feel that way and be happy for them and glad that that will probably work out better, and still value myself and know that I was doing a good job and that I connected with that kid and that I taught them some awesome things and new skills. And I can still hurt at the loss of that relationship and at the loss of those hours and that part of my paycheck, because it is going to be a big difference for at least a week, it seems. We will see. At some point, inconsistency stops being part of the field and starts being unsustainable. It is important to ask yourself, is my company proactive about cancellations? Do I feel supported or blamed? Am I constantly anxious about hours? Does this job allow me to survive financially? Loving ABA doesn't mean accepting instability forever. I'm someone who plans to pursue my master's in behavior analysis and become a BCBA. But I know that they can also have job inconsistencies similarly to this. And it's okay to be frustrated that that is the situation right now. A message for the technicians and the analysts feeling guilty for wanting that stability. You are not weak for wanting consistent hours or for being upset when they're not there. You are not selfish for needing predictable income and being stressed out when that's uncertain. You are not less passionate because instability is draining you. Needing stability doesn't mean you care less about your clients. It means you're human. I think that this field needs some work and some better structure. I think once the company you work for knows that you're losing a kid, they should be focused on finding you someone else that fits into your distance and time frame. If you're doing in-home or if you're in clinic, something that works into your time frame, your scheduling boundaries. ABA is meaningful work, but meaningful work should not require constant financial and emotional uncertainty. If you're in a season where the inconsistency is heavy, I see you. I hear you. If you're questioning how long you can do this, you are not alone. I'm right there with you. Session Notes Unfiltered exists to say the quiet parts out loud, so we can support each other and push this field towards something better. Until next time, document honestly, advocate for yourself, and remember that stability is not too much to ask for. You're doing a great job, and this is a hard job. I'm Miss B. This is Session Notes Unfiltered, and I'm signing out.